just managed it in the morning instead. I wanted to just let you know that I went to the old one-room country school that I went to for the monthly community dinner. They do it for fundraising to keep it open as a community center. It's a lot of work, but that place fills up when the dinners are being served. And I decided I'll go out and visit the old community, see a few of the people I went to school with, and a lot of people I don't know names for anymore. But we had ham and scallop potatoes and pie. Coffee and tea are available, etc. But it made me remember how all of my life has been centered in some way around food. And I think all of your life has as well. I am assuming that most of us had food and adequate food. But even if you were underprivileged and didn't have the food that was appropriate, food would still come to the top of mind. For me, out in my little country school and the country community, everything in life rotated around food. And the lovely thing about this is that we can do a lot of entertaining. We can come together and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You see, potluck, community, everybody brings a little bit, puts it out on the table and shares, and you go around. Usually there's just a ton of too much food. People have not learned that if you're going to a potluck, you take enough for yourself and maybe another person. If that's all you ate, you would be full to bursting. But so many people say, well, we're going and maybe a couple will come and they'll bring a great big tray of food that would be enough for 10 people. And therein is the challenge of a potluck. The other thing is sometimes everybody brings deviled eggs, or sometimes everybody brings dessert. But the fun about a community potluck is you don't know what the meal is going to be. It's going to be whatever everyone brought. And that means that you're going along and picking up your food. And while you're picking up from the buffet, you're chatting, you're chatting, you're chatting. Food brings people together in communication. Could you imagine instead of dropping bombs, they were dropping food and everybody was coming together over food? Wow. Wow. I was that little child in the farm community, and that's what we did all the time. We had box socials, school socials, church socials, and no matter where you went for whatever meeting, there was always going to be food after the business was looked after. Always. And that carried on for me when I was raising the family. We had a large yard. We were in a house in the country, and we could make a campfire in the back. And every year I had the community. I invited the neighbors in. And it was usually a corn boil. And I would have some pies made. And I believe, again, it was potluck. We didn't have enough money to be able to just feed everybody and entertain. So that was the way I introduced it. And we were able to have all kinds of lovely time together, entertainment, well fed, and everybody was able to share the cost. What do you do? What are your memories? Here's another one for me. When the harvest was ready to come in the fall, and it was time to take the crops off the field, our community of 25 families thereabout owned one machine for taking the harvest. It was called a thrashing machine for getting the grain in. And we moved that machine from farm to farm to farm as the harvest was ready. And so the men would get together and say, well, we have to be away, or a couple of the men had work jobs that they had to go to. So they would work it around so that everybody was accommodated in the best possible way. And they would lay out the schedule, hopefully reduce how much travel time we had to make for the thrashing machine to move from farm to farm as well. Everything was looked after. And the women, of course, we had to make the meal for maybe 20 really hungry farmers and another probably half dozen of us teenagers, and teenagers have as big a stomach as those farmers. And each farmhouse did the meal for those 2 or 3 days that it took to get the crop off. It was a lot of work, but my mom was a baker, and I imagine she made like 12 pies. And the men would come back, they'd come back for 2 and 3 pieces of pie after they'd piled up their plates 3 times. I had to peel potatoes, and we had the great big square galvanized bin. You could almost call it a little bathtub for children as well. Got used for that sometimes too. And I would peel potatoes. I knew what KP was long before it was ever a word in our place. And as you watch the men, they'd sit out in the yard. We didn't bring them into the table because we didn't have room. Unless it was raining, then you just had to squeeze in and get around the big farm table. But they would be going out in the sun and sitting under the big old willow tree, maybe on the ground, didn't matter. They were going to be sitting where they were comfortable and cool and relaxing. And one or two, you'd see them lay back in the grass and have a little shut eye. And other times you'd hear them laughing and the voices rippling around in the air. All I wanted to share was going to the potluck dinner, well, to the community dinner. That wasn't potluck. We went and paid our money so they could fundraise. Brought back all of the times that food is abundant, brought together. We don't have to get broke bringing people together. We can do it. When I'm awakening communities in Uganda, it doesn't have to take a lot of money. It has to take a lot of encouraging people to open their minds and bring themselves together and work together. Where has food been in your life? How has food brought you together? There's your reflection for today. I hope you've enjoyed this little walk down memory lane. I hope you also enjoyed Friday's interview with Brian. My daughter and her daughter were looking at it last night with me, and they said, "This is a real Canadian story." And I thought, bonus. They're from Ethiopia, so this is a real Canadian story. I just enjoy doing these, and I hope you enjoy receiving them. And if you can make some comments, that lets me know that you are watching. I'm rambling. I'm off and gone like a turd of hurdles. Have a great day. Coach Sandra, compassionate queen of straight talk. You can do it. You can tell stories. You can communicate. You can reflect. You can do it. I can help.